Fam, peace and blessings. This is Derric Rau Khu more, and I wanted to share with you all 3 things that they don't tell you before you get into Kemetic spirituality. Now, before I begin, I want you to go ahead and kind of explain this, or basically make this video, because I was just thinking about the fact that in my, I would say, relatively short time of actually practicing, being on this path and practicing Kemetic spirituality, that I've seen a lot. I've seen, individuals come in and they stick with it, but at the same time, I've also seen individuals who have, who were supposed to be members of the priesthood, just drop out and even convert back to Christianity. And I always wondered about that. When I saw stuff like that, I've always wondered about how could an individual be, how could an individual learn all this, learn all this information, learn all these, techniques and all this other kind of stuff about Kemetic spirituality, and then return back to the religion of their oppressor. Okay, I always wondered about that. And then, one time when I was thinking about that, spirits went ahead and they kind of shared with me that basically is due to the fact that a lot of people have misconceptions. They have, romanticized ideas about what Kemetic spirituality is, versus how it really is actually Kemetic spirituality, or really how it is. Okay. So that's the reason why I wanted to go ahead and make this video. I wanted to go ahead and, share at least 3 points, 3 things I think that, you should know. The first thing, before getting into Kemetic spirituality, the first thing that I think a lot of people, what they miss and what they don't know is that Kemetic spirituality is theoretical. Now I know a lot of people, whenever I say this, whenever I talk about this, there's a lot of people who, who've been practicing. They say, no, you shouldn't say that, and all this. But the fact of the matter is, the Kemetic people did not leave, or the Kemetic sages did not leave any spiritual text, or none has been recovered, that actually explains how to practice Kemetic spirituality from beginning to end. Yes, the Rau has been found. The Book of Northern Manifestations of Ra, yes, they have that. And these books, these sacred texts, they give a lot of insight. They give a lot of, they explain a lot. They kind of give you ideas and all that in regards to how the Kemetic people thought and how they conducted, funeral rites, things of that nature. But it doesn't give an actual detailed instruction as to why certain things are done. Okay, there's no text, like I said, that has been recovered of a Kemetic person, a Kemetic, practitioner back in the day, during ancient times, that said, this is the reason why I went ahead and I made offerings to, I made offerings to Rau. This is the reason why I went ahead and I made offerings to Ampu. And this is what happened when I went ahead and did this. There's no one who goes ahead, and there's no text that has been written like that. So because there is no text, there is no, like I said, text that has been written that explains in detail how to practice it. For the most part, everything is done by speculation. Okay, so what I mean by theoretical and by speculation is that people have gone ahead and they've read it. They've read these texts. They've read, they've studied the Kemetic text. They've studied the Kemetic history. They've studied Kemetic practices and the religion and so forth and so on. And they, for the most part, have tried to piece together how to practice it in these contemporary times. And regardless of what individual says, for the most part, that's all it's been doing, okay? Everyone has been doing almost that same thing, okay? So the first thing that people need to understand is that it's really, for the most part, it's theoretical. Kemetic spirituality is theoretical. The second thing that they don't tell you is that because of Kemetic spirituality being theoretical, it basically goes according to the way you feel. All right? What I mean by that is, if you're new to Kemetic spirituality, you're interested in practicing it, what you end up doing is you check out all these different schools of thought, okay, or schools that practice Kemetic spirituality. And if it feels okay, it feels good, feels uplifting, then you go ahead and you get involved. If it doesn't feel okay, then you go ahead and you avoid it, okay? You drop it. Now, there's a pro and con to doing it that way. The pro is that, of course, if you go ahead and you do it according to the way you feel, basically you follow, you have freedom to choose which Kemetic path you choose to actually go ahead and follow. The con is that if you have not met anyone that has explained to you properly what the principles and concept of Ma'at is, if you have not met anyone who's done that, the con is that because you don't understand Ma'at, you go ahead and you don't understand that your feelings can betray you. Right? And what I mean by having your feelings betray you, every time you see something that's good, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you. Things that are bad don't necessarily mean that they are bad for you. And unless you actually understand the concept or principles of Ma'at, if you don't understand that and you approach Kemetic spirituality from like I said, based upon your feelings, and you use that, good versus evil perspective, you miss out on a whole lot of things. And you end up spending a whole lot of time, experimenting, trying things out, and, like I said, wasting a lot of time, so forth and so on. And that is one of the things that causes, that people need to know about Kemetic spirituality, okay? The third thing about Kemetic spirituality that I think a lot of people need to know is that a lot of times people go in here and they leave the church, they leave the kingdom halls, they leave, the temple, the mosque, whatever the case may be. They leave whatever religious organization they was born and raised in. They leave those religions or those organized religions for, hypocrisy, for, hypocrisy that might have existed within the pulpit, gossiping, all other kind of, basically human issues, all right? And when they come to Kemetic spirituality, they think all that is not going to exist, okay? The sad truth, I don't want to say sad truth, but the truth of the matter is that the same problems that exist in the church and all those other organized religions, they exist in Kemetic spirituality as well, okay? Now, the good thing, or the pro about dealing with Kemetic spirituality, when you encounter that kind of stuff is that, at least in Kemetic spirituality, when you encounter that backsliding or backbiting and gossiping and all the other, like I said, human, frailties, when you encountered it in Kemetic spirituality, because most of the practitioners, regardless of what faith, regardless of what path they follow, what Kemetic path they follow, most of them are familiar with meditation. Most of them are familiar with the understanding of how to program the mind or the spirit. Most of them are familiar with the different divinities and ancestors and so forth that will help to overcome these conditionings. So one of the good things about it, when you go ahead and you encounter those same issues that exist in the church, one of the good things is that they have ways of going ahead and dealing with it. They have ways of going ahead and countering it. So when you get involved in a Kemetic path, or Kemetic, you get involved in Kemetic spirituality, if you're having an issue, for instance, dealing with, managing your anger, instead of like in other, in organized religions, you're going ahead and you're just praying and expecting God to just, take that away. In Kemetic spirituality, you work on it, and they give you the tools to go ahead and work on it, so that you can manage it, so that you learn how to manage your anger, so forth and so on. That's a good thing, okay? And that's one of the pluses of dealing with it. But the con, okay, is that just like in the church, the con is that in Kemetic spirituality, if people don't put forth the work, it's not going to get done. So what people need to understand is that just because you go in here and you come over to Kemetic spirituality, you start practicing Kemetic spirituality, don't think that these human frailties are just going to disappear, okay? And that's not going to happen, because anytime you're dealing with people, and especially a group of people, you're going to run into these same kind of problems. Again, the pro about this, though, when you're dealing with it from a Kemetic spiritual path, the pro is that you have the tools now to go ahead and to actually program your spirit, or deprogram your spirit of this frailty, so that you can go ahead and you become a better individual. You just have to go ahead and put in the work. All right. So I just wanted to go ahead, like I said, share those three things, that I think that people need to understand before they get involved in Kemetic spirituality, so that they're not making a rash choice or making a decision based upon a romanticized idea of what you think Kemetic spirituality is, or what the media portrays Kemetic spirituality to be. If you got any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to drop me a line. Until next time, at the boo. Peace.